Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode number 109 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Laney Pavlon. Tonight, I have Justin Hedberg alongside with me, and Danny Ford, but he does have a new vlog coming around, so go check that out on his YouTube channel, Low Boost Danny, if you haven't already. Well, what do you got to say about this weekend and everything that's happened out on the racetrack?
It was interesting racing from different series. Some controversy in the Cup race, obviously.
We'll definitely explain that in a minute and how everything transpired after 400 miles at Kansas Speedway. We had some interesting IndyCar racing, 2 races at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll talk about the first race of the FIA World Endurance Championship in Belgium for the 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah.
As well as the Moto Gp race, and of course, Formula One. How can we not forget about Formula One at the Portuguese Grand Prix held in windy Portimão Algarve circuit? Let's break all those down. We'll get started, as we always do, with NASCAR and what happened out on the racetrack on Sunday. Well, I mean, obviously you see the winner of the race, of course, being Kyle Busch, but what you don't see is the title of the race. Justin, what was the title of the race again?
The Bushy McBush Race 400. And yes, Mike Joy did say it at one point. I remember him saying it. I'm like, oh my gosh. He actually said the race title. I know it sounds...
When you put a contest for fans to put names in as like candidates for the race name at Kansas, sponsored by Busch, they actually meant to put your real name in, not a make pretend name. I think it's getting sort of ridiculous.
Yeah.
What a good weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Looks like you had a blast out there just looking at your Instagram stories and all that stuff.
Yeah, but hope at least Darlington for this weekend has a better title name with Goodyear. Just the Goodyear 400. Simple like that. Or Busch Beer 400 would have worked. But Bushy McBush Race, that's just like, why?
It could have been the Joseph Landy Pallon 400, but I just was too lazy that day to enter the contest. So
that would have been an interesting
maybe they did a voting system or whatnot, or maybe when the admin saw, hey, this is an interesting name, let's do this for a play. But in the end, that's what we had. We had 400 miles at Kansas Speedway. Let's get into the actual race, though. It was round 11 and 36, and Kyle Busch, who wasn't really in question to win the race, even though he won stage 1 and was leading for only 20 laps. This was 267 laps, mind you. Kyle Busch only led 20 of them. And I think the timing was in his favor. We'll explain that because he really executed well. Ben Bishore, by the way, congratulations. Ben Bishore's first ever Cup Series win as a crew chief. But as for Kyle Busch, he led 20 laps, won stage 1 start, and picked up his 58th career win. Looks like we might see win number 60 this year if he keeps it up. Yeah. How about Kevin Harvick? He was running up front all day. He never led any laps, but second after starting 4th, had a top 5 car for sure. 3rd place, Brad Keselowski. Surprisingly enough, he didn't win any of the stages, but he led 72 laps from the pole to finish 3rd. Matt DiBenedetto finished 4th after starting 5th. A very needed run for Matt DiBenedetto. How about this? 2 very good races in a row for that Wood Brothers team. They definitely have climbed the ladder in 2021 in the last 2 weeks. 5th place, Chase Elliott, who started 17th. Was outside the top 10 for the most part, but managed for some reason. He got into the top 5 and brought it home 5th. Martin Truex Jr., who's won here multiple times, finished 6th. 7th place, Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick had an up and down day, that's for sure. Yeah. Covered in the top 10. How about this? Chris Buescher for Roush Fenway Racing. Chris Buescher led 13 laps after starting 16th. He brought it home in an 8th. And running at your top 10, we have William Byron, who started 2nd, and Austin Dillon, who started 6th. So that's your top 10. Now, before we talk about the race, let's just get into the other results here. 12th place, Denny Hamlin. Could have been worse. If you really think about Hamlin's mistake there, it really did cost him, but it could have cost him more. Still didn't change the fact that he's grown that points lead with all the stage points. Denny Hamlin led 7 laps. He started 20th, but brought it home 12th, as I mentioned.
Yeah. And
this is the painful part here. Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson won stage 2. He led 132 of the 267 laps. Yep. Started. Yeah, I'm not reading this wrong. He started 32nd.
Yep.
I don't know how you go from 32nd. Maybe this is why we need qualifying, because he really didn't deserve to start in the back.
Well,
ended up in the front before you know it. He leads 132 laps, and then he's pretty much thrown back in the mid pack, at least in the better half of the mid pack.
But there was a reason he fell back. On
that contact with Ryan Blaney on the final restart just ruined Larson's chance of a win, and something like that's going to keep you up at night for sure. 34th place out of the race. He retired at lap 258 was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who led 23 laps. He started 23rd. And last but not least, Matt Mills, driving for BJ McLeod, started 39th, finished 38th in his Cup Series debut.
Yep.
So we'll talk about points in just a minute, but what was going on in the race that really riled up the fans so much? Because we saw during the last round of pit stops under the green flag that one of the tires, I believe it was from Tyler Reddick's car, because he had to come down and say, I don't know how he got back into the top 10.
Yeah.
But Tyler Reddick, his crew member, made a mistake. The tire rolled out. It crawled to the other side of the pits in the grass area. Now, unlike other tracks, this is the kind of pit road that has no wall separating the pits from the racing surface.
Yep.
And in the grass, there's this big chunk of grass in the G-shaped tri-oval area. And tons of room. I mean, how a crew member could have ran out and brought it back under green conditions. Or the tire could have just sat there. Nonetheless, NASCAR called a caution. They decided it was dangerous enough for a caution, but that wasn't the questionable part. Even though it was questionable. What I think is a little more questionable, Justin, before I let you go on your next point here, is that NASCAR did not call the caution right away. This is going to rub a lot of people in the garage the wrong way here, because NASCAR, if it's plain and simple. If something's impeding the progress of the race on the racetrack or is a possible hazard on the track, NASCAR will immediately throw the caution flag to remove the obstruction from the track.
Yep.
Or to assess the track to make sure that is whether it's safe or not to continue green flag racing before the green flag waves again.
Yeah.
This tire, now back to point number one, was on the opposite half of the grass, closer to the pits, and really could have just sat there and caused no harm and no foul to the race. And the fact that it was so far from the racing surface, there was no problem with the tire just sitting there. That's problem number one. Problem number two, and this is where a lot of people get upset about in the garage area here, and in the fans alike, because it really did come at the expense of Kyle Larson and even Denny Hamlin. If you really think about it, it came at the expense of a few drivers here. Was the fact that NASCAR planned this caution. I don't want to say they planned it, because you never. It's not my place to say what's behind NASCAR's decisions, but NASCAR also did not need to call a caution if it wasn't called right away.
But that's not what the fans are pissed about. They're pissed. They're mad about they threw it so late, but they said it's because it's because most of the fans said NASCAR wanted to screw Chris Busch on purpose. That's bullshit. But Chris Buescher Chris Buescher was not even running that good most of the race. He was running 19th. He was not going to win. But people said NASCAR screwed him because he had to pit.
No, NASCAR didn't screw anybody. No. NASCAR screwed themselves.
Yeah.
Let me just be clear.
Yes, they didn't screw Chris Buescher. Buescher was not even running for the win. He was running 19th.
He was just out there waiting for the caution to come out, or something like that. He was on a different pit strategy. But the point I'm trying to make here, Justin, is that, if the wheel was actually an obstruction to the race, to the safety of the drivers, to the track, then the caution flag should be called at that moment. NASCAR spots there's a problem with this track here. Now, we understand NASCAR gives a little leeway to some of the caution flag rules, especially on the final lap of a race, which is the typical point where we see the caution flag not be waved for a crash or debris on the racetrack. But we're talking about a tire on the pit lane side of the grass area, closer to the pits, way far out from pretty much where any car would be driving through the pits at a slow speed or on the racetrack at a racing speed. The tire's there, stopped by the grass. It's not going to go anywhere. And NASCAR says that then a caution will come out at the end of the pit cycles, and it just boggles my mind as a race fan to understand the meaning behind it, whether or not the caution should have ever been called at all. And I know we've seen these cases before many years ago with debris cautions, whether or not they were legitimate. We've seen a lot of cases in NASCAR calling cautions for minor situations that never should have been called in the first place.
Yeah.
For plenty of times, we've seen questionable caution flags by NASCAR's officials. Maybe a crash on the final lap didn't need to bring out a caution. You get the point here. But nobody was at danger from that tire.
Yeah.
Unless I need to get my eyes checked, the track looked perfectly safe for racing.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute shame that NASCAR really backtracked. I don't want to say that they did a pretty low move here, but it was pretty backward of them. Let's just leave it at that. So that was the controversy that happened late in yesterday's race. But if there's anybody that shouldn't complain about it, it really should be guys like Kyle Busch, guys like Matt DiBenedetto. Throwing another name here, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, ironically kind of was saved from that last caution, or from that controversial caution, because of the cautions that followed through. And that's another part as well. Cautions breed cautions. You know what that also breeds? Breeds entertainment, breeds views. You know, I don't want to say NASCAR is a gimmick. It's never going to be a gimmick sport. But that caution felt like a gimmick to me. And as a race fan, I disagree. I don't care who wins or who loses this race. I don't care if my favorite driver, didn't win as a result. Kyle Busch is one of my favorite drivers personally as a fan. I don't care if he didn't win this race or won it or not. That caution flag should have never been called in the first place. And if it was going to be called, which really should never have been called, then it should have been called on the side. That's my case. But let's go ahead and talk about the point standings now. That 11 races. And Denny Hamlin, believe it or not, he's nearly going over 100 on everybody else in the championship standings now.
Yeah.
481 points from Denny Hamlin. It just shows you how consistent he's been all year long. Yeah. Now, Hamlin's teammate Martin Truex Jr. is down by 87. 394 points from Martin Truex Jr. The William Byron is 385 points. Joey Logano is fourth with minus 108. Fifth place, Ryan Blaney with 370 points. Sixth place, Brad Keselowski, 366 points. Seventh place, Chase Elliott, 349 points. Eighth place, Kevin Harvick with 348 points. Ninth place, Kyle Larson. He really dropped in the points after yesterday, 337. And Kyle Busch is finally in the top 10 with 330 points. So we still have some racing left. We have interesting tracks ahead. I think we have Darlington. You have Darlington 400 this weekend. And what's coming up in 2 weeks? Dover?
Yep, and then after Dover is Coda. And
we have three completely different tracks.
And then the Coke 600 miles. Yeah.
So it's after Coda?
After Coda's the Coke 600.
Oh, the Coke 600, my bad. I don't know where
it's
going.
And then Sonoma in June, and then
the All-Star break.
Yeah, and then after that would be Nashville for NBC's start of the season.
So pretty much from here to the All-Star break, we have two unique 1 mile tracks.
Yep.
In 2 weeks from now. So we have Darlington and Dover.
Yep.
And then we have the first ever Coda Grand Prix coming up. And then the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yes.
And then after that, we have Sonoma, California, a track that has not been ran since 2019. Though it's a familiar site for a lot of these guys in the schedule, except for the little change in the layout from pretty much 2019.
But there's some drivers that were rookies last year, like Cole Custer, Chris Herbell, Tyler Reddick. They never ran this track.
Right, but yeah, especially because they didn't run in the West Series. But where am I going with this? Circuit of the Americas in Sonoma, California, and then an off week. So really, you got to get your game on. And remember how many drivers made the wins list this year because, you win a race, you get in.
Yeah.
That is 10 spots already. There are 6 spots left for different winners. And then if that happens, then they're just going to have to go based off points for the one-time winners.
But also,
you might be at risk without even realizing back in February or March for many reasons.
Like, there's some drivers like Michael McDowell. He has a win, but he has to stay in the top 30.
Not just that, but if there are more than 16 winners and he has the least amount of points out of the 16, he's out.
But it just depends if we have 16 winners, because some drivers are not performing too well. Like the Stewart-Haas cars, they're not performing. They're not doing like they usually do. And Team Penske, they're the best Ford team out there, and they already have win.
So we really have a good tale of events coming around.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. The Florida Panthers are up 2-0. Okay, this is good.
Wow, Boston has 7 shots on goal, but nobody scored yet.
Interesting. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, race that happened over the weekend on Saturday.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and discuss that. From Kansas Speedway for the Kansas 200 for round 7 of a 22-race championship here. Well, let's go ahead and go about these race results, shall we? So, Wise Power 200 at Kansas Speedway was won by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had a dominating truck, even though he really had to work hard on that last restart to get the win. Yeah. Kyle Busch won stage 1, stage 2, led 59 laps, started second, picked up his 61st career NASCAR Camping World Truck Series win. Second place, Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain led 6 laps. He started 34th, but brought it home second.
Yep.
Third place, Austin Hill. Austin Hill started 7th. Christian Eckes, who led 3 laps, started 17th, brought it home 4th. John Hunter Nemechek led 16 laps from the pole, rounded out the top 5. John Hunter Nemechek brought it home 5th. Todd Gilliland 6th. He started 6th, highest Ford in the field. 7th place, Zane Smith, who started 9th. Rafael Lessard started 15th, finished 8th. Johnny Sauter, who led 13 laps in truck number 13, started 4th, brought it home 9th. And 10th place, Ben Rhodes, who led 2 laps after starting 3rd, rounds out the top 10. 13th place, Haley Diggin, started 20th, picked up her career best finish. 27th place, owner-driver Brent Holmes, last year's ARCA champion, who hoisted the trophy, ironically, at this track last year. Started 32nd, finished 27th for his career best finish. And Sheldon Creed, oh boy, this is terrible. He led 41 laps, started 8th, and finished an abysmal 32nd. These guys are going to be back this weekend for Darlington, 200 miles, just like the Xfinity guys will. But I think we saw an interesting turn of events at Darlington.
Darlington?
Kansas.
I was about to say, you're predicting the future?
My head is can't find Kansas, like Dorothy from Wizard of Oz.
But, Kansas was interesting. More controversy. Again, people are saying there's controversy from drivers are hitting Bailey Curry and Haley Deegan, but not hitting Kyle Busch. But there was a thing that people got mad about. But Bailey Curry got screwed on the restart, not by people hitting him. No, Ross, his own teammate. Yeah, and Bailey told Ross to go on the start. He was mad at Ross for not going on the restart because
he never went.
Ross was second. Bailey Curry was third on that final restart. He was looking for a career best finish at that point because his best finish is 6th. He was really doing good in that 45 truck.
Bailey Curry, okay, if there was driver of the day for the truck series, I give it right to him without a question. Bailey Curry surprised a lot of people. He's really only driven for backmark teams.
Yeah.
NASCAR's Xfinity Truck Series. He sometimes gets into the top 10. Very rarely does he get in the top 10. Sometimes we'll see him in the top 15, but that was just an a statement-making race for Bailey Curry, and I hope that teams can note his performance.
Yeah,
they can give him a better ride in the future.
Yeah, he got 7th for a Mike Harmon car at Phoenix. If you don't remember that race, he's done other things than that 7th place. I've seen him running like 12th to 15th sometimes, just there.
That's a consistent drive.
He led laps for Mike Harmon Racing under green at Martinsville.
That's the first time Mike Harmon Racing ever led laps in the series under green.
And And also about Bailey Curry, his only best opportunities when he is in the niche trucks. Like when he's in those trucks,
I hope they bring him back.
Yeah, like at one point, like the 44 has no driver. Maybe put him in the 44.
Absolutely.
If they decide to put him, it's really good for him because he's really performing in underfunded equipment. Like Mike Harmon Racing, he's sometimes just doing way better than teammate Kyle Wetterman. Sometimes doing better than Riley Herbst sometimes, which is not a good thing when Riley Herbst gets beaten by Mike Harmon cars. That's where that's a concern, but was really good seeing Bailey Curry running up front in his number 45 entry.
All right, well, let's go ahead and check out the point standings now as we are how many races is that? We are 7 races down in the Truck Series this year. So, yeah, after 7 races, John Hunter Nemechek still has the points lead, 320 points for John Hunter Nemechek. 33 points back in second is Ben Rhodes at 287 points. Third place with 242 points, Austin Hill. Fourth place with 237 points is Sheldon Creed. Fifth place, Stuart Friesen with 215 points. Matt Crafton is 6th with 209 points. 7th place, Zane Smith with 201 points. Todd Gillen 8th with 200 points. 9th place, Grant Enfinger with 199 points. And 10th place, Johnny Sauter with 169 points after 7 races. Now, we did talk about Rafael Asar finishing in the 8th place, but unfortunately, Justin, the Canadian driver, has been released from GMS Racing. And now, a lot of people don't seem to remember this, but when Rafael Asar was signed by Maurice Gallagher to drive for the Truck Series team, it was not a full-time deal. A lot of people think it's a full-time deal.
No.
But it was not a full-time deal. Just to get, I think, a good, 6 races down, 7 races down.
Yeah.
And here they are, not having sponsorship. And you know what? I'm not afraid to say this, Justin. Actually, I'm afraid to say this, but we have to be real. I don't think he'll be the only GMS Racing driver to be shown the door this year.
Yeah, but who are the other? Like the thing is, there's 2 of them.
Look at Sheldon Creed
and Zane Smith. They ran Kansas, no sponsors on that. They ran white Chevrolets.
Just blank white, nothing on it. And we're talking about the top 2 in the championship standings from last year who battled for the title amongst themselves. Isn't that a little bit alarming, NASCAR? I mean, shouldn't you take a closer look at your business system here?
Yeah,
if the top 2 drivers drive for the same team in the NASCAR Truck Series, who the top 2 outright are racing for the same team the very next year, defending the championship in blank white trucks with no sponsors, racing against sponsored trucks here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that has to point a finger at somebody, but somebody's got to get the finger pointed at. And this is getting ridiculous. And, I mean, I could go back and say that Martin Truex Jr. and Furniture Row Racing had that same situation in the Cup Series, despite the team actually having their own sponsorship supply.
Yeah,
so they never really got that money because that makes sense because you're really making your own money. And it's, I don't know how Furniture Row's business system worked, but it worked somehow. And I guess their model changed, and when they needed that extra sponsor and they couldn't get any, it was goodbye NASCAR.
Yeah, but the thing about GMS, they don't GMS Racing. They have 2 trucks fully funded. One of them is Tyler Ankrum. But Tyler Ankrum, I know he has a rough start, but he actually has talent. It's the other one, the 23 of Chase Purdy. He is just not performing. He's a rookie
in the Truck Series, but my gosh.
Oof. he's running worse than he's running.
He's in the 20s most of the time, 25th, 26. I mean, Chase Purdy, I don't want to put it like this, but, you know,
I
guess he's turning it to Kwame Brown of NASCAR's Truck Series or whatever is it? I don't know.
Like literally, you know, he has his own sponsorship from Bama
Buggies.
That he was sponsored by them when he ran the number 8 for MDM back in ARCA.
That one ARCA season, they ran the full calendar. I do remember that.
Like the GMS drivers, Creed's in 4th, Zane Smith 7th, Lassard was 13th in points. Then
he was actually climbing up to the top 10, you know that.
Tyler Angram's climbed up to 18th. He climbed up. Chase Purdy is still 22nd, behind Timothy Peters, ahead of Danny Bone. He's behind Christian Eckes, that's part-time.
Yeah, and Grant Enfinger, who's still somehow in the top 10.
Yeah, and he's...
But the thing I'm trying to say here is that we saw a driver leave the team, Rafael Lassard, and maybe, I don't know, I should be the one questioning, the team owner's decisions here because we have to respect that decisions are made based off their own decisions. But Maurice Gallagher signed up this year, putting 5 different trucks on the track full-time, drivers here, expecting the season to go like this. And you know what? I think we need a little reality check for these team owners. If you're going to be putting 5 trucks, like, I guess, 5 is okay. Maybe if that 5th truck is a part-time team here and there.
Yeah.
Or maybe a cycle of drivers that can supply that sponsorship.
Yeah.
But, I think we were given the wrong message from what was going on in this team, and whatever was happening behind closed doors is pretty much on them.
Right.
But let's talk about, before I let you finish your point here, Justin, NASCAR's Truck Series, or pretty much development programs, have an opportunity with one of the hottest prospects in Rafael Lassard.
Mm-hmm.
So now that he's gone from GMS Racing, there are definitely a lot of teams right now that are probably knocking on his door, looking for Rafael Lassard to say, I choose you, and I want to drive for you.
Yeah, like there's so many teams. Like one of them, Nice Motorsports. That's a team that Brett Moffitt, remember, he's now focused on Xfinity. They're 44 they have 2 trucks, the 44-45 with unknown futures, because the 40-42, which is Hosfar and Ryan Truex, they're full-time. They're guaranteed, but it's the 44-45. If they decide to put Rafael running races in both the 44-45 for the rest of the season, because like Rafael has talent, but
he's absolutely talented. Absolutely.
Yeah, but GMS had different changes in the off season, like having a new co-owner with Mike Beam. He's the listed owner of the 23 truck, and he's part owner of GMS Racing. But also, other than that, instead of just having Maurice Gallagher Jr.'s names on all the other trucks,
Gallagher
on the 26, but you have Mike Beam is now part of the team, and then 5 trucks. It's like last year we had 4 full-time trucks.
I think for Truck Series standards, 4 trucks is a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, even 3, like a 2-truck team, maybe that'd be fine. Having some part-time guys here or there. Yeah,
like the 221, 23. 221, the 24, 23, and the 26 were full-time, while the 24 truck was part-time last year for GMS. But now 5 full-time rides, like, really?
Justin, hear me out for a second here. I think, if you really consider the format of practice and qualifying only being present for just a handful of races in the season, if GMS Racing doesn't put all 5 trucks out there on the racetrack in some shape or form every race weekend, sponsorship or not, what could be at risk here? And that is another truck being on the grid.
Yeah.
If another truck comes in and starts taking up the owner points from, let's say, Chase Purdy's ride, or even the truck that Rafael Lassard drove for a little bit, or even Zane Smith, you get the point.
Yeah.
That is one less chance of having a 5th truck being able to start in the NASCAR Capable Truck Series races. That's a risk that Maurice Gallagher chose to stay away from, hypothetically, if that's what was behind the decision here to bring out 5 trucks out of the racetrack, taking up pretty much 1/5 of the grid.
Yeah, which is like
that's just his decision. That's the team's decision. They receive factory support from Chevrolet, which is golden, but
like I just don't know what's going on with them. And also when I saw that first race with the 2 of Creed and Zane Smith with no sponsor, I'm like, why are they unsponsored now? Remember they had Camping World helping them at the last race at when they had Vegas?
They all had 1/3 of the grid with their sponsors.
Yeah, now they're stuck with no sponsors. Like last year, Creed had full-time sponsors from Chevy Accessories. Where did that go? I figured out where that went. Ross Chastain's riding the Cup Series. They left GMS to go. They left the champion in the trucks to go to Ross Chastain in the Cup. It's like, what? It's like Zane Smith finished runner-up. His sponsor, I don't know where it went, but it left and decided to do less races, and he finished runner-up. It's like, wow. I don't know what's going on with the sponsors and 5 trucks at GMS. It's like. Well,
listen, I think the blank white trucks need to be addressed, especially for GMS racing, because we have a lot of racing left, and it would be a damn shame to see Sheldon Creed or Zane Smith, especially those 2 drivers, or even Tyler Ingram, have to get released and not be able to compete for a championship that they absolutely deserve to be competing in over something that could be avoidable. And you know what? Sponsorship is an interesting point in NASCAR, because if you really think about it, especially in the lower 2 top tiers of the top 3 tier series here, Xfinity trucks, a lot of these teams use local sponsors for the races that they're at. So let's say a local company, Kansas, say like a food chain, a pizza shop over there, they could sponsor. Just saying, that's how some teams do it, especially towards if you're in the back mark as a back mark team. That's a good example of what productivity is. But I don't want to see a driver like Zane Smith, or especially Sheldon Creed, lose their seats midway through the season over something like this. And we already seen a driver go, but now let's talk about some of the other teams real quick. This is an opportunity for a lot of other teams, whether in the truck series or even in the higher levels, to look and assess it, what they can do by bringing a driver like Rafael Assar into their roster, into their lineup. Let's say the Xfinity series, we know there's a lot of possible open spots for Ford teams. We don't have too many Ford teams in the truck series, and especially not in the Xfinity series. By looking at only Austin Cindric as Chase Briscoe is the only 2 factory supported Fords. Oh, I forgot about Ryan Sieg. Could there be an opportunity for like some part-time driving? We don't know.
But the thing is, it's the Xfinity series has had problems with having 43 entries every week. It happened again, so there's always
he'll be the odd man out again.
Yeah, the only way is Coda's the first race with qualifying for the Xfinity. It's like it's always the 03, 31, and 77 DNQing. It's like, wow. It's like they can't do anything about it. Those 3 entries have no points. All the other entries have points.
And that's a slippery slope here. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and continue talking about the truck series later on in the podcast when we discuss the Darlington race, which is coming up for round 8 of the season. So, that's it for the truck series. All right. Ready for some automobile racing? I think I am. Let's discuss what happened in F1 for round 3 of this 23 race Formula One World Championship. The Portuguese Grand Prix at the Algarve International Circuit. If I said that right, come on, please open up Racing Reference so I don't have to feel guilty whether or not I said it correctly. I love my internet. But, yes, it was called the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimão, Portugal, for the Portuguese Grand Prix. No, my internet wouldn't let me have my moment of fame, but round 3 of the World Championship. Let's go ahead and talk about everything that happened during the race weekend. So we saw an interesting tale of events in the Grand Prix yesterday.
Yeah.
We had 3 different leaders that led all more than 10 laps in each race. We saw a lot of feuding for the fastest lap, some controversy, and once again, a Lewis Hamilton win. And Lewis Hamilton led 34 laps in the race. He started second, picked up his 97th career win and his 168th career podium.
Yep.
So Sir Lewis Hamilton, coming out on top. Once again, in Portimão, this is only the second race held at the track and the second Portuguese Grand Prix in God knows how long. Second place, Max Verstappen. And Max Verstappen started third, picked up his 45th career podium and almost the fastest lap, but his last lap time, which was the fastest lap, was deleted because he exceeded the track limits.
Yep.
Third place, Valtteri Bottas. The fastest lap of the race for the Finnish driver. Valtteri Bottas led 19 laps from the pole. It was his 17th career pole and his 58th career podium. Fourth place, Sergio Perez led 13 laps in the race. He started and finished fourth. Fifth place, Lando Norris, who started seventh. Charles Leclerc, started eighth, finished sixth. Esteban Ocon, seventh. Fernando Alonso, eighth. Ninth place was Danny Ricciardo, and 10th place, Pierre Gasly. Yeah, I forgot to mention that the double points went to Mercedes, first and third, Red Bull, second and fourth, McLaren, fifth and ninth, and last but not least, Alpine, seventh and eighth. So that is a very impressive performance, especially Alpine Renault. These guys are just doing brilliant under the new banner. But let's talk about the guys who fell shy at points once again. This is going to be a painful one if you're a Ferrari fan. But Carlos Sainz got screwed in this. Scuderia mission went out of Ferrari after starting fifth and running into the points spots for days. Finishing in the last car of the lead lap. Just a bad strategy by Mattia Binotto and the guys from Maranello. 12th place, Antonio Giovinazzi. Very impressive run by Antonio, to be honest. He did a great job. Nearly had a chance to get a few points there. But he's going to have to settle for 12th. He started 12th as well in the Alfa Romeo. Third place in the Aston Martin F1 team and the Aston Martin Mercedes, 13th and 14th. No points for the first time this year in a race by the Aston Martin guys. Sebastian Vettel still looking for points. And Lance Stroll, 14th. 15th place, Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. 16th place, boy, I was really hoping we would finally see George Russell get points. He started 11th in the Williams, but just, I guess the lack of performance got the better of the car. He ended up settling for 16th. 17th place went to Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi, 18th. Nikita Mazepin, 19th, and Kimi Räikkönen was the only non-finisher of the race at the end of lap 1. He lost his wing and crashed into the sand, retiring on lap 2 after starting 15th. So let's take a look at the World Drivers' Championship before we assess everything. The World Drivers' Championship, after 3 races, so at this time, only 13 drivers scored points from 3 races. That's impressive. But Lewis Hamilton has the points lead, 69 points. Second place, Max Verstappen with 61 points, so that's an 8-point difference. Third place, Lando Norris, all the way down to 37 points he has so far under his name. Fourth place, Valtteri Bottas with 32 points. Fifth place, Charles Leclerc with 28 points. Not a bad start for the Ferrari driver. Sixth place, Sergio Perez with 22 points. Seventh place, Danny Ricciardo with 16 points. Eighth place, Carlos Sainz Jr. with 14 points. Ninth and 10th place with the 2 French drivers, with Esteban Ocon, 8 points, and Pierre Gasly, 7 points. Let's take a look at the World Constructors Championship after 3 races. And I guess this is what the expected was to come true here. Mercedes, 101 points. Second place, Red Bull Racing Honda, 83 points. Third place, McLaren Mercedes with 53 points. Fourth place, Ferrari with 42 points. So Ferrari's at least in the top half this time around, unlike last year.
well, it's still early in the season.
Yeah, you never know.
Well,
The downward spiral could happen. 5th place, Alpine Renault, 13 points. 6th place, AlphaTauri Honda with 9 points. And the last team to have points so far in 7th place with 5 points, Aston Martin Racing Mercedes. Now, these 3 constructors do not have points at all. But in the order based off the drivers' finishing positions, they're 7th, they're 8th, 9th, and 10th. 8th place, Alfa Romeo Racing, Ferrari. 9th place, Williams Mercedes. And 10th place, Haas Ferrari. And how they finished are the 3 constructors with no points.
Yeah, and
there's still a lot of racing to go.
Well, Haas, they're not looking like they're getting points.
Yeah. Forget about them.
Yeah.
What about Williams here? I think Williams and George Russell, they just need a lucky race.
Yeah, they do to get points. But, like, if people didn't know what happened when Perez was leading, Nikita Mazepin got a penalty.
I don't know what else to say about him.
But
you've heard me talk about Nikita Mazepin before, but he can't.
Well, Mick Schumacher, the race before, bended on the pit exit, which was more.
Just ridiculous. You know what's sad about this is we have Kyle Milot doing test driving stuff. He's a reserve driver for Alfa Romeo, a sub-Ferrari team here.
Yeah, and Alfa Romeo, at least, they have speed. Haas,
they have garbage.
Yeah, and their cars are just not on the pace. Definitely not on the pace. They're way slow.
One of the 2 drivers just doesn't seem to keep it off the rumble strips. And when I mean that, I mean by like actually spinning out every time he hits it. I don't know what Nikita Mazepin is taking. He's ignoring blue flags. He gets a time penalty. He's going to finish last anyway. He still gets a time penalty.
And Mick Schumacher, I know he's a rookie, but he was saying his F2 car was faster than this Haas car, which is not a good sign when your car is slower than
everybody's saying. We say no to Mazepin. I get that. I say no to Mazepin as well. But you know what? If Mazepin goes, so does your car, the sponsorship. The car that makes the machine look like a Russian flag goes. Yeah. And you know what's funny about it? So does all the money. This is F1. This is a cash cow here. We're talking about millions of dollars, just billions and trillions of dollars going to Formula One. So, you know, it's unfortunate that we see drivers like Callum Ilott having to be out there on the sidelines for a sub-Ferrari team like Alfa Romeo, and for some reason they can't get in the Haas car. But, you know, hey, at least he's gotten his feet wet in endurance sports car racing under the Ferrari factory contract. So at least Ferrari opened a much accessible door, to say the least, for Callum Ilott, but it's still a shame. Either way, I think we've seen something interesting in the Grand Prix, Justin. I think one thing I want to point out here is that the fastest lap is going to matter more than ever than it has in the last 2 years. Since the fastest lap started giving up, resulting in 1 point, 1 additional point. We never really got to see the fastest lap bonus point come into play as being a real key factor in the World Championship until this year. In the last 15 laps, we saw the fastest lap switch between 4 drivers. Lewis Hamilton had the fastest lap for most of the race until Checo came out in 4th. Didn't miss a beat, stayed in 4th place, and went out and got his fastest lap. Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. Max Verstappen. So that's what a number 2 driver does. It helps driver number 1, whether you like it or not. Then Valtteri Bottas gets the fastest lap around the last few closing moments of the race. And then all of a sudden, Max Verstappen starts putting out this blistering lap on the final lap. And for some reason, his final corner was axed from the entire lap time, so he didn't get the fastest lap point. It went to Valtteri Bottas because the FIA said that he cut track limits on the final corner. I don't think he cut any track limits.
Well, actually,
track limits.
Well, I did see he was almost hitting he was really wide, which gave him like 4/10 of a second extra. That's probably where they saw, like, okay. Well, it's like, sometimes track limits, it's like, if it's plain obvious, yeah, but if it's like just a little bit like touching the rumble strip, but like if it's, you see that car really wide and gaining like half a second, okay, that's a little bit fishy.
That is fishy, but it says a lot about just how the nature of Formula One is, and it's a shame. I think, just to be fair, but I mean, honestly, I think that the whole deal of track limits needs to be reassessed. What is considered off limits? What isn't considered off limits? And do all tracks have differences? Because if there really are those differences, then tell me. I want to know, as a fan, as a critic of this sport, what is warranted of off-track limits? Because I know I've watched NASCAR for years, and we see NASCAR road courses, they always exceed the track limits. But IndyCar even exceeds the Dakota track limits. If you compare the 2019 IndyCar Grand Prix there to the 2020 or to the 2019 US Grand Prix that happened that same year, you'll see what I'm talking about. But this is it's just one of the things that you really have to remind yourself that they really take it seriously. And if you breathe over the track limits, say goodbye to that lap time. It's gone. Ask Lando Norris. I'll tell you firsthand.
Like, it's like the F1, the FIA is more like serious because they're worldwide compared to other sports that are not worldwide, so they care more compared to like IndyCar. IndyCar is not. It's just they stay in North America, while not IndyCar, but F1 they go to a lot of countries.
I never saw the final corner, so I don't know. That it was the final turn of the circuit that Max Verstappen lost his fastest lap time on.
Yeah.
So just take it as you will, but in the end, rules are rules, and you just have to accept it for what it is. And it's a sad deal, honestly, because it could have been 7 points. But
what the heck is this?
Talk to me, Justin.
Marvel theme for NBA on ESPN for this game for Golden State versus New Orleans.
That's crazy.
It even says the ESPN2 logo in a thing of Marvel. Interesting. Okay. So F1 was interesting. And Kimi Räikkönen did retire on the first lap. He made contact with his own teammate on lap 2, which sent his car out of the race with massive wing damage. So he was done.
All right. Well, I think that's enough for F1, but we have the Spanish Grand Prix coming up for round 4 this weekend, and let's look at Barcelona, Catalunya. So nice to see their proper date coming back for F1. Of course, that Spanish Grand Prix was put off in a different date because of all the crap that happened last year around the world. Because apparently, that's just how things happen. So that's F1 for you. Now let's move on to the American side of open wheel racing and talk about some IndyCar. We had 2 races at Texas Motor Speedway for the first oval campaign of the season, and 2 interesting stories that came along with it. We'll discuss what happened on Saturday for the Genesis 300 and Sunday for the XPEL 375. So let's start with Saturday's race for round 3 of the championship, the 17-race tour. Scott Dixon led 206 laps. He led all but 6 laps in this race and started 3rd to pick up his 51st career win and his 124th career podium. And now that means Scott Dixon is 1 win away from history, Justin. Yeah. Scott Dixon, if he wins again, he will tie Mario Andretti for the same number. Yeah. 2nd most wins of all time in IndyCar history. 52 wins Mario Andretti had. Yep. Scott Dixon has 51 wins. And not to mention, he's chasing down another record, which is most championships of all time at 7. Scott Dixon is the defending champion who has 6 titles to his name. Yeah. Scott Dixon also gained the points for leading the most laps. And as I mentioned, his 124th career podium. Just amazing numbers. Second place from one Kiwi to the other. How about this? Scott Mclaughlin from Christchurch, New Zealand, who started 13th, picked up his career best finish of second in his first career podium. Scott Mclaughlin did a terrific job in his first oval start in IndyCar. He blew my mind. I don't think Scotty McLaughlin was going to drive the way he did, but he certainly played the cards right with strategy and everything in between. And unfortunately, Justin has fallen out. I think, Justin, if you hear me, you should leave and rejoin because I cannot add you back for some reason. Because the internet is a joke. But yeah, Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske finished second behind his hero, his childhood hero and countryman, Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon for Chip Ganassi Racing. Scott McLaughlin for Team Penske versus second. So let's talk about Scott McLaughlin. What did Scott McLaughlin do correctly that put him in this podium position?
Who? Scott McLaughlin?
Absolutely. Race one.
Scott McLaughlin, he started not the highest position, but he had a decent car. And he started going through the field and gaining spots. Really helped him. And he had a decent car, and he mowed through the field and got to second. Yeah.
Absolutely. He did a great job. And third place, Patricio O'Ward, who started 11th and picked up his 5th career podium. Had a great weekend. 2 podiums, and that was the first. 4th place, Alex Palou was the only other leader of the race. He led the other 6 laps after Scott Dixon. So his teammate led all the laps, but it was Alex Palou who led the other 6 laps. Palou started first. Remember the pole position, by the way. There was no qualifying session due to weather. By the way, for in case you're not familiar with IndyCar point system, if you score a pole position from a canceled qualifying session, it does not go into the record books. No. So Alex Palou started first, but he did not score a pole position.
Yeah.
5th place, Graham Raeholt started 13th. A great weekend for Graham Raeholt altogether.
Yep.
6th place, Joseph Newgarden, the 2-time champion, started 10th. 7th place, Jack Harvey. Harvey started 6th, finished 1 spot behind at 7th. 8th place, Alexander Rossi, who started 16th and brought home 8 spots better. 9th place, Takuma Sato. Sato started 12th. And 10th place, Simon Pagenaud, who started 5th and finished 5 spots back. So that was race 1. Now let's talk about race 2. Race 2, Patricio O'Ward picked up the win, and he broke a lot of droughts with this win for many reasons. Arrow McLaren SP's Pato O'Ward led 25 laps, started 4th, picked up his first career win, his career best finish, and a 6th podium of his IndyCar career. So what did Pato O'Ward do? What happened as a result of Pato O'Ward's win with McLaren? Pato O'Ward ended a 3-year drought from Aero SP,
yep,
the Schmidt-Peterson team. He ended a 17-year drought. So that was the last win from SP Aero was James Hinchcliffe at Iowa in 2018. He ended a 17-year drought from the last time a Mexican IndyCar driver took the win, which was Fontana in the Indy Racing League in 2004 with driver Adrian Fernandez.
Yep.
And he also ended a 42-year dry spell from the last time a McLaren won an IndyCar race, 1979 Atlanta with Johnny Rutherford. Good old Lone Star Johnny. But it's incredible. We knew this win was coming for a long time, but was it really expected that he'd get that first win on an oval?
I didn't expect that at all. I thought like a road course, but he has done good at the ovals. Not going to lie, but he really did good this weekend.
He impressed me. It really impressed me the way he held off Joseph Newgarden. I thought that Newgarden would have the upper end of the stick.
But he actually did pass Newgarden. Newgarden was the leader until 25 to go. That's when O'Ward made his move. And Newgarden, in his interview, said his Chevy was better than my Chevy because they're both driving in Chevrolets. Yeah, Pato really did well in this entry. And do you want to know what's interesting? Because he got the win,
Go ahead.
Zach Brown said if he won, he's now going to be testing the McLaren F1 car at the end of the season at Abu Dhabi because of his win. That's what he said if Pato would get a win, but now he has a victory under his belt.
He drove so flawless and so mature and so poised out there. There's something about Pato O'Ward that is very raw about his driving talents that just makes me very intrigued as a racing fan. I can't wait to see more out of this guy. Second place, Joseph Newgaard led 25 laps, just like the winner did. 25 laps. Started 6th, picked up his 37th career podium in Newgarden. I guess he was just a little too much when it comes to putting the pressure and just cracked a little bit. But you know what? He'll have his moment in the sun, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Third place, Graham Raeholt. Boy, I'm impressed with Graham Raeholt here. He led 13 laps. I know he's won in the past in 2016. Graham Raeholt started all the way back in ninth. Actually, not ninth. Yeah, he started ninth and picked up his 32nd career podium. Fourth place, Scott Dixon led the most laps for the second time in both races of the weekend. And Dixon led 163 laps, so he gets the most laps. Led bonus points. And Scotty did fall shy of the podium, but a great weekend altogether. He will come out of this with the points lead. Fifth place, Colton Herta, the winner from St. Petersburg, brought it home at fifth after starting 10th. Sixth place, Simon Pagenaud started 8th. Seventh place, Alex Palou led 3 laps, started 2nd, lost the points lead. 8th place, Scott McLaughlin, a flawless weekend for the Kiwi, bring it home 8th after starting 7th. Just beyond me for a rookie driver. 9th place, Rinus VK, after leading 5 laps and starting 12th, brought it home 9th. And Ryan Hunter-Reay rounded up the top 10 after starting 21st. 11th place, Ed Carpenter led 1 lap and started 19th in his own machine. 13th place, Will Power led 1 lap, started 3rd. I don't know how he finished 13th after hitting the wall off turn 4. Staying on the lead lap, believe it or not.
Yeah.
14th place, Takuma Sato led 12 laps. So an interesting run for the Raeholt, Letterman, Lanigan team. Led 12 laps, but a bad timely caution shuffled him all the way down to 14th, and he never recovered. And 15th place, Tony Kanaan, who started 20th. So,
but
take it as you will with these numbers.
Yeah, but there was but at the start of the race was the most.
The start of the race was the finish of the race for pretty much everybody else.
Yeah, though, if you don't know what happened, in the back of the pack, which that's where most wrecks start at some tracks start. Not Tony Kanaan. Sebastian Bourdais was hit by Pietro Fittipaldi's Dale Coyne entry, who spun him, collected the other Dale Coyne car of Ed Jones, collected Dalton Kellett, but it ended up flipping over Connor Daly's Carlin entry, and he flipped into the grass, landed back on all 4 wheels, but that was just
they never made it to turn 1. So Sebastian Bourdais, Alexander Rossi, Pietro Fittipaldi, Ed Jones, Dalton Kellett, and Connor Daly all had their races end just by crossing the starting line. That is the ugliest way to start a race and for some to end a race. And it's just a damn shame because I was curious to see how Sebastian Bourdais was going to cash out on the points here because, St. Pete was his better track.
Yeah,
and race 1 crashed, and race 2 he never made it to turn 1.
Yeah, and also I just remembered with that crash that he had with that crash happening, the last time we had a crash before the start line was Gateway. Race 1 at Gateway last year had a crash out of turn 4 before the start line. So basically we had that at Texas, except it was not off turn 4. It was coming towards the start line. I remember I was way ahead of the people on Skype. I'm just like, I didn't spoil. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was confused. And then I was like, oh my gosh, someone flipped. And like, nobody expected that on the race start to have a wreck past the start finish line. Yeah. It was an interesting accident, but really sucks for those cars that were involved, which they lose points because of being out before getting the turn one.
All right, let's move on to the championship standings now that we are done for this race. Scott Dixon is the championship leader. He has 153 points. Behind by 22 points in second is now Patricio O'Ward. Third place, Alex Palou with 127 points. Fourth place, Joseph Newgarden. Fifth place is Simon Pagenaud.
No, Pagenaud 6.
Graham Raeholt. Simon Pagenaud 6. Colton Herta, Will Power. 100 points for Herta, 99 points for Power. Scott Mclaughlin, 99 points as well. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th with 90 points, Jack Harvey.
Yeah, Jack Harvey did drop.
What about Jack Harvey?
He did drop in points because his engine blew up. So he did drop in points. Huh. VK is 11th in points.
Yeah, I think these guys have a lot of ways to go. But the next race is all the way down to May 15th, pretty much the start of the Indy 500 month. And the last race before the 500 mode begins. That, of course, is the Indy GP, the GMR Grand Prix.
Yeah.
For round, is that round 5?
Yep, round 5 of 17 and the 85 lap race there.
Should be interesting. Yeah, to see how everybody, gets ready to be in that Indy 500 mode. All right, let's go ahead and shift some gears to talk about some sports car racing, shall we? We have 2 races we'll cover. The first one being the FIA World Endurance Championship. Of course, the season opening race at Spa-Francorchamps for the 6 hours. This first race of the 6-race tour for the FIA World Endurance Championship, and of course the Nürburgring Landstreichen Series, the NLS VLN Series race at the Nürburgring NLS 3, round 3 of 9. We'll start off with the World Endurance Championship. So yeah, this is the dawn of a new era. Remember the old LMP1 cars? Yep, that's a thing of the past. Now we have seen a new configuration begin and a new era for top-tier endurance racing at Le Mans. Yeah. The Le Mans Hypercar class, the LMH, or simply called Hypercar class, debuted yesterday, or 2 days ago, actually, at the 6 hours of Spa. And although 3 only showed up, they all finished in the top 3 overall. So that was a good showing by the teams that came and demonstrated this car that we will see for the 24 hours of Le Mans. But in the end, it was your usual pairings of drivers that succeed. And it was the number 8 car for Toyota Gazoo Racing, the Toyota GR010 hybrid hypercar hybrid, driven by Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and Brendan Hartley.
Yep.
Completing 162 laps overall. 2 cars finished on the lead lap. There was the number 8 car. But how about this number 36 car, who this team, they took the leap of faith and made the switch all the way up to the highest class.
Yeah.
Alpine, the Renault luxury brand that has been in the Le Mans area for some time. In the Lmp2 class, they were pretty much in a boat of their own in Lmp2, Justin. I don't know if you remember this, but they had their own Lmp2 car, not just the team, their own car. They had their own Alpine chassis and everything.
Yeah, they did.
They moved up and created the Alpine A480 Gibson hypercar. And guess what? They completed all the laps, being the second and final car to finish on the lead lap. With 162 laps, I know they were about like a good minute behind, but either way, they could have very well won this race and never quit. That was a great showing from the French team, the French manufacturer, with the drivers, André Negraro, and two French drivers, Nicolas Lapierre and Mathieu Vaxivière, driving number 36 for Alpine Elf Matbut. So great run for them. I was very impressed to see how they finished and how they would do compared to the two Toyotas, just exclusively on a vote of their own. All right, let's talk about the most competitive class for this for the race, and that was, of course, the LMP2 class. And, knowing what we've seen before from the LMP2 camp, that this was a pretty good showing on what to expect for later on this year. It was the number 22 United Autosports entry. It was actually the USA entry with drivers Fabio Scherer, Felipe Albuquerque, and Phil Hansen. Phil Hansen, by the way, I think he was part of the the ELMS championship squad. Felipe Albuquerque, one of the fastest drivers and prototypes in recent memory, and Scherer, who joined that list of drivers. They stayed pretty flawless from start to finish, I tell you. Second place in class in the LMP2 car. By the way, that car finished fourth overall. Second in class was the number 38 Jota Sport. Now Jota Sport number 38 with Anthony Davidson, Antonio Felix da Costa, and Roberto Gonzalez driving that car. So pretty interesting driver lineups here. Third place, the number 20 at the sister car for Jota. Driving that car was Sean Galeo, Tom Blomqvist, and Stoffel Vandoorne. And these guys actually paired up with a successful run in the Asian Le Mans series a few months ago. So the chemistry is there. Fourth place, and being the first team to score this season the Pro-Am Cup Awards for LMP2, was the number 29 Racing Team Netherlands with the all-Dutch squad owned by Jan Lammers. We had Frits van Aert, Guido Vendegaard, and John Van Oytert in the number 29 car. By the way, all the cars that I mentioned drove Orca 07s, as did fifth place in class, which was the number 34 Inter-Europol competition Orca 07 with the Polish domestic driver Jakub Smichowski, who is from the hometown of the team. Renger van der Zandt and Alex Brundle. So good showing by them. Now let's move on to the LMGT Pro class, which we saw 5 entries. For the first time, we got to see, first time since November of last year during the rescheduled 12 Hours of Sebring, we got to see the Porsche GT factory team make their LMGTE return. Remember, they're not racing in North America this year. And they did exactly what they did at Sebring by coming out on top with drivers Kevin Estra and Neil Johnny in the number 92 Porsche 911 RSR, completing 153 laps. And by the way, in the class, 3 cars finished on the lead lap in the class. So it was very competitive. Of course, the Ferraris finished second and third, the 51 and 52, second and third. Alessandro Pierre Guidi and James Collado in car 51. And car 52, Daniel Serra and Miguel Molina driving Ferrari 488 GT Evos. Fourth place, we had the number 63 Corvette Racing Chevrolet Corvette C8R. Finished 1 lap down in the class, as did the other car, with drivers Antonio Garcia and Ollie Gavin. And fifth place was the number 91 Porsche GT team with Jim Bruni and Richard Leitz in the Porsche 911 RSR LMGTE car. So 5 cars showed up. Hopefully that means we'll see more we still really don't understand what the future might be for factory-supported GTE racing, but we'll see what happens when time goes on. But what we do know is that they won't be racing in the States next year.
Yeah.
At IMSA. All right, let's move on to the LMGTE AM class, which is a class more centered towards privateer GTE teams that you usually see in the European Le Mans series. We had AF Corsa Ferrari winning that class, and it was a good run for number 83 with drivers Nicholas Nielsen, Francois Parado, and Alessio Rovera driving the AF Corsa number 83 Ferrari 488 GTE Evo. Second place in that class was the number 33 TF Sport Aston Martin Vantage AMR GTE with drivers Felipe Fraga, Ben Keating, and Dylan Pereira from Luxembourg. Third place, number 47, Centilla Racing Ferrari 488 GTE Evo with drivers Giorgio Cernagiotto, Antonio Fuoco, and Roberto Lacorte, all Italian roster. By the way, Centilla Racing used to run in the LMP2 cars, actually with the help from AF Corsa, but then they switched over to the GTM class. So.
Yeah.
Fourth place in the class was number 54, AF Corsa Ferrari 488 GTE Evo with Giancarlo Fisichella, Francesco Castellacci, and Thomas Floor.
Yeah.
Thomas Floor, age 61.
Wow.
Good for him.
Good.
And last but not least, fifth place in class was the number 77.
77.
No, 88. Take that back. 88. Dempsey Proton Racing Porsche 911 RSR GTE with Andrew Harriento, Alessio Piccarello, and Marco Seafried driving that car.
Yeah.
So,
the 77 was not classified, but we had two cars not even start. The 44 had a mechanical issue, so they didn't start. But this was more embarrassing. I actually saw this because Discovery Velocity's coverage started when they were doing the warm-up, and the 86, Michael Wainwright, driving for GR Racing, spun into the tire barriers and destroyed the car right away, so they didn't complete any laps. Yeah, it was an interesting race.
We didn't see all the teams, but I think we'll see more teams, I'm sure, up as, preparation for Le Mans.
Yeah, like Glicken.
Really kick in.
One team that was supposed to enter, Glickenhaus, they did not enter the race.
But you know what? They were there in a different race, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But yeah, Glickenhaus, they're an American-based team with their own car. I'm very excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, a team that did impressive to me was WRT. Their first ever, in the first time in a World Endurance Championship race, they actually did decent. They ended up finishing last in class because they went to the garage with issues. But other than going to the garage, they were running solid. Most of the race, they were running good. In the podium position, they were third for most of the race. But
remember, they won ELMS in prototype debut.
Yeah, and they were doing good in this race until the mechanical issue and them finishing 30 laps down. But they still did good.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next race. And you mentioned that Glickenhaus was somewhere else, and yes, that is true. They were somewhere else. They were at the Nürburgring.
Yeah,
the third race of the NLS VLN race or series at Nürburgring for NLS 3, round 3 of 9. By the way, I forgot to mention the next F1 World Endurance Championship race will be on the 13th of June for the 8 hours of Portimão, round 2 of 6. But back to the Nürburgring here, round 3 of 9. We saw some interesting racing going on, but once again, Porsche just really sewed up the top 4 spots with pretty much no competition. You know who you can thank for that? The factory drivers.
Yeah.
They know what to stay out of trouble. So yeah, Matthew Jaminet and Earl Bamert for number 30, Fricadelli Racing Team Porsche 911 GT3R took the win.
Yeah.
It was a 1-2 finish for Fricadelli Racing Team. We're only going over the overall because there's too many classes, but the second place in overall was the number 30 Fricadelli Racing Team car. Actually, it was the 31.
What? I was about to say the 30 finished first and second.
It's the 31 car with Klaus Abelin and Maxime Martin who drove for this go-round. Third place was the number 4 Falcon Motorsports Porsche with for this time it was Klaus Bachler and Martin Rajinger. So those are 2 Polish drivers in the Falcon car. You notice a lot of drivers that come and go from different cars throughout the LS season. Usually factory drivers do that. Fourth place was actually the winner from round 2, Manti Racing. The 911 Manti Racing Porsche was driven this time by Lars Kern and Michael Christensen. Kevin Estre didn't drive this time around because he was at the WEC race where he went on to win in class. And fifth place was the number 29 Audi Sport Team Land with Christopher Mies, Kelvin van der Linde, and Mattia Judy, Audi factory drivers. And by the way, that's the car that won the 24-hour race in 2017. So, yeah, these guys will be back all the way in June 26. So June 26 will be the next time they race for NLS 4. So round 4 of 9. Yeah, that's it for endurance sports car racing. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about a few other races that happened over the weekend before we preview the upcoming events. We're going to start off with some of the regional NASCAR races and then proceed into some two-wheel racing. Let's go ahead and get started with the NASCAR Wheeler Modified Tour. It was Patrick Emmerling who won the rain-shortened Wheeler Modified Tour race at Stafford Springs, Connecticut. Why did I go from Patrick Emmerling to Pato O'Ward? That's like comparing apples to tomatoes.
It's like I was about
one
to
is
say,
a fruit and the other's a vegetable.
I was about to say Pato O'Ward does not compete in the modified tour.
No, I said Patrick Emmerling. I meant
he
left only 7 laps and started way back in 23rd. Eric Goodell, who's the points leader by 1 point, finished second. Tommy Catalano, Timmy Solomito, and Craig Lutz was your top 5. All the way down to 12th. What was it? 11th and 12th place. My eyes are playing a test on me. 12th place, Doug Kobe. Led 18 laps. I'm actually not playing. I caught myself. 14th place, Ronnie Silk led 8 laps and started 14th. Ryan Preece crashed out on lap 124 after leading 13 laps of the race. Matt Swanson led more laps than anybody else at 84, but he was also taken out in a crash on lap 111, a different crash from Ryan Preece.
Yep.
And after 2 races, the top 5 in the championship is Eric Goodell, 89 points, not 84 points, 89 points. I can't read my own handwriting anymore. 6 points back. Patrick Emmerling, the racing winner. Tommy Catalano, 3rd with 78 points. Max McLaughlin, 4th with 74 points. Justin Bonsignor and his brother Kyle Bonsignor, 73 points.
Yeah, they're tied for P5, and their next race for the modified is on May 15th, not this Saturday, next Saturday at Riverhead Raceway on May 15th. That's the next modified tour race, which I know we can't watch it, except if you have Track Pass, but modified tour racing is interesting. It's an interesting series.
Let's talk about another race that happened. This was a one-sided affair, to say the least. The ARCA Menard Series, round 4, the Kansas 150 was led entirely start to finish by Ty Gibbs. Led all 100 of the 100 laps, a perfect race over Drew Dollar, Corey Heim, Jack Wood, and Derek Griffith. So after 4 races, Corey Heim has the points lead with 179 points. Drew Dollar second with 166 points. Ty Gibbs is third with 156 points. Kyle Sieg is fourth with 151 points. And Chad Moffitt is fifth with 141 points. And they will be back on May 22nd for the Toledo 200, a famous ARCA race.
Yeah.
For ARCA enthusiasts out there. Unlike last year, however, there will only be 1 race this time around.
Yeah, they had 3 because canceled events and stuff. But Toledo, it's an interesting track. It's like,
I can't wait to see who shows up for that one.
Yeah, probably not a big field. Maybe Mclaughlin will get a top 10 because of it. I don't know.
Probably not. Maybe pick a different track for that. All right, let me just get these 2 pages up before we go ahead and get started with the race preview. Oh, no, I forgot we have motorcycle racing. Whoopsies.
Look, I just was thinking, I'm like, what about Moto GP and Monster Energy Supercross?
Yeah, we're going to talk some 2 wheels. Let's talk some 2 wheels. Yes. We'll get started with the Moto GP race and then leave the best for last, I guess. I don't want to say that one was better than the other, but it was certainly an interesting one, to say the least. MotoGP for the Spanish Grand Prix. Let me get those tabs up because, of course, everybody needs too many tabs open.
Well, I only have 3 tabs open. I
close the tabs out when I don't need them anymore, for sure.
Well, I have this, Twitter, and the stats for Darlington because
tabs are up. Let's go. Okay, so round 4 at 19 was the Spanish Grand Prix, or should I say it formally? Let me say it formally. The Gran Premio Red Bull de España, held at the Circuito de Jerez Ángel Nieto in Jerez La Frontera, Spain. Yes, I said it right on first try because why? I took Spanish in college. Okay, enough with the self-flaunting. But Jack Miller took the win, and boy, that was an emotional one for the Ducati rider. Jack Miller picking up his 2nd win of his career, driving for Ducati Lenovo team over his teammate and now championship leader Francesco Bagnaia. 15 riders scored points. 3rd place in the podium, Franco Morbidelli in the Yamaha. Takaki Nakagami in the Honda finished 4th. Joan Mir 5th for Suzuki. Aprilia's Alex Espargaro 6th. Maverick Vinales for Yamaha in 7th. Johan Zarco for Ducati 8th. Marc Marquez, welcome back, Marc Marquez. It's been a while since we've seen the champion race. The 6-time champion of MotoGP is back after a long, dreadful injury recovery and even some crashes in the weekend to precede the Grand Prix. But Marc Marquez is back, and he scored points for his Honda team. Paulo Espargaro rounded out the top 10. Miguel Oliveira was the highest KTM in the race. Stefan Bradl's Honda finished 12th. Fabio Quartararo, oh boy, this was just a downward spiral for Quartararo yesterday. He was leading and then just had problems and trailed back to 13th, but managed to get at least 3 points, but certainly could have had more in his Yamaha. Danilo Petrucci and Akira Lecuona, 15th in his KTM. See, I got to pronounce the names better, or at least I tried to. All right, let's talk about the rider standings. So we have 3 championships to talk about here. The Riders' Championship is now down to 2 points. Francesco Bagnaia and the Ducati Lenovo team, Ducati, with 66 points. 2nd place is Fabio Quartararo, and Maverick Vinales is 5th, so 64 points for Quartararo, 2-point difference. And Vinales is 3rd with 50 points. So Yamaha, Monster Energy, MotoGP, 2nd and 3rd. Joan Mir in the Team Suzuki X-Star is 4th with 49 points. And Johan Zarco is 5th in his Ducati for Pramac Racing with 48 points. Let's move on to the And by the way, about Marc Marquez, he made his return at the Portuguese Grand Prix, the previous race, not yesterday. Let's talk about the Constructors Championship, shall we? So the Constructors Championship, Yamaha has the points lead, 6 points. They have 91 points, but 6 points over Ducati, which they've climbed up all the way up to second. 85 points, -6 from Yamaha. Suzuki is third with 53 points. Aprilia fourth at 35 points. Honda is fifth at 33 points, and KTM is, believe it or not, last with 27 points. Aprilia has upped the dial big time this year, scoring points in every single going so far. Let's talk about the team standings now to close this conversation of MotoGP. Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP leads the championship by 9 points. They have 114 points claimed so far. Second place is the Italian team, the Ducati Lenovo team, with 105 points. After that win, they really climbed the ladder in the team's championship. Third place is Team Suzuki X-Star with 72 points. They got a lot of work to do, these guys, from third on back. Pramac Racing is fourth with 65 points. And fifth place, the Repsol Honda team with 40 points. So just by looking at the championship, every rider except for Tio Rabat, who made his debut in the season yesterday, scored points. That's a competitive season.
Yeah.
That shows a lot of competition within these riders.
Yeah.
And I'm not a MotoGP expert here, but it certainly makes for a reason for a lot of MotoGP fans that are trying to get into the sport to watch these races. We saw a great battle last year, and it's going to be great this year. So, yeah, these guys, they do get a break. Come back on the 16th of May for round 5 of 19, the French Grand Prix at the famous Circuit de la Sarthe Bugatti circuit.
Oh, that's
France. It's a beautiful place. Listen, I'm a sucker for Le Mans, so I can't wait for that race for sure. I'll go out of my way to watch it. No question.
Well, Joseph, the deal with, NBCSN, they're not the best with their deal with it.
It's fine. I know piracy.
Well, for where I live in Canada, Rev TV shows every race live because they feel like it. Yeah. But it was an interesting
Canadian TV. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, we were just talking about MotoGP here. We got one more series to cover. Probably the one you didn't want to walk into, but here we go. It's the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship finale.
Oh my God.
Salt Lake City, race 2, round 17 of 17 to close the championship. And Cooper Webb, for the second time in 3 years, wins the season championship for KTM. He did it in 2019, and he did it again this year. So second time in 3 years. And not only that, he also won the second race at Las Vegas. But let's take a look at the final championship, or the final results, the race results from Saturday night. Marvin Musquin, a 1-2 finish from KTM. Chase Sexton finished third in his Honda. Husqvarna's Jason Anderson fourth, and Malcolm Stewart finished fifth in the Yamaha. And let's go down the top 20 in the final standings for the AMA Supercross Championship. So with 388 points, was good enough for KTM's Cooper Webb to win the championship. 353 points, Ken Roczen falls short again with second in the championship for the Honda rider. Eli Tomac third in his Kawasaki with 326 points. Justin Barcia in the Gas fourth with 289 points, and Aaron Plessinger in the highest Yamaha finished fifth with 264 points. Now the rest of the top 20, we had Malcolm Stewart, Dylan Ferrandis, Jason Anderson, Marvin Musquin, and Joey Savacci, the top 10. Dean Wilson, Chase Sexton, Brock Tickle, Marvin Davalos, Zach Osborne, Adam Cianciarillo, Justin Brayton, Vince Freeze, Kyle Chisholm, and Justin Bogle, your top 20. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A very interesting tale of events to close an eventful campaign in American dirt bike racing.
Yeah.
We still have the motocross season to go with it, and that's going to be something very interesting. But let's also talk about the other divisions as well. The 250 SX Championship, of course, has been split into divisions, East and West. The top 10 final standings in the East Championship was won by Yamaha rider Colt Nichols. Second place, Joe Shimoda, Jet Lawrence, Christian Craig, Michael Mosiman, Joshua Obzi, Joshua Verise, Thomas Doe, Mitchell Oldenburg, and Logan Cardo were your top 10 in the East. And in the West was won by Justin Cooper, another Yamaha rider. So if you're a fan of the Yamaha bikes, you're going to be very excited for the future here.
Yeah.
The future is bright. He won the championship with 194 points. Second place was Hunter Lawrence. Third place, Cameron McAdoo. Seth Hamaker, fourth. Jalek Swoll, fifth. Garrick Marchbank, sixth. Nate Thrasher, seventh. Kyle Peters, eighth. Cody Schock, ninth. And Mitchell Harrison, top 10, rounding out the top 10 in the final standing. So that was an eventful season so far. But I think, just there's a lot to look forward to, I'd say. But yeah, we do have the Motocross Championship coming around pretty soon, which is outside cross-country dirt bike championship. A lot of the same riders are in the same contracts going around there, so just keep a close eye out on that.
And also the Monster Energy Cup will be in
the fall.
In the fall, yes.
It's Las Vegas. A new season, I guess, to turn a new page in two-wheel dirt bike racing. Let's go ahead and move on to all the upcoming events this weekend. We have NASCAR, all three series will be racing at Darlington. Of course, headlined by the Darlington 400, back for the second year in a row. Remember, this was the very race that reopened sports for the most part last year. This will be round 12 of 36. The Xfinity Series, Darlington, and the Truck Series, Darlington, will both be 200-mile races. Round 9 of 33 for the Xfinity guys, and for the Truck guys, round 8 of 22. In terms of some open wheel racing, we have Formula One this weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and that's round 4 of 23. And Formula E is back in Monaco for the Monaco E Prix. I can't wipe the grin off my face. I love that track. Round 7 of 15 this weekend. And we have Supercars, last but not least. For week 4 of the championship, the Ben Super Sprint is back. Tyler Ben has returned this year for rounds 9, 10, and 11 of 31. We're going to get started, as we always do, for upcoming races by discussing NASCAR.
Yep.
So, wow, I'd say, it's just another case of interesting events in the NASCAR season. We have 10 winners, only 16 make the chase, but 10 winners already. That says a lot about the competition that we've already had, to say the least. But let's talk about the history of the Darlington 400, the secondary Darlington race, one that we've not seen since 2004 until last year, of course.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin took the wins last year in the Spring Darlington race. In 1952, Dick Rathman, yes, the elder brother of Jim Rathman, who won the 1960 Indy 500, picked up the win in the first ever running of the second Darlington race. Who has the most wins in Darlington's little sibling event? David Pearson, 7 times. Dale Earnhardt, 6 times. Darrell Waltrip, a 4-time winner. 3 wins from Dale Jarrett, and these drivers have 2 wins. Fireball Roberts, Joe Weatherly, Fred Lorenzen, Richard Petty, Harry Gant, Bill Elliott, and Sterling Marlin. With team wins, Colton Moody still leads that list. The former Factory Ford operation, 7 wins from them. Junior Johnson and Associates, as well as Richard Childress Racing, 5 wins each. Wood Brothers Racing, 4 wins from them. Petty Enterprises, Hendrick Motorsports, and Robert Yates Racing, 3 wins. Bud Moore Engineering and Dygar Motorsports with 2 wins. Now let's talk about manufacturers. Because of this race's history, there's a lot of manufacturers that have won here. So let's take a look at that. Ford beats out Chevy in this bout. 18 wins from Ford, while Chevrolet has 5 wins.
Oof.
Or 15 wins. 15 wins.
Okay, I was about to say 18 to 5.
Mercury is third on the list with 5 wins. Plymouth, Buick, Oldsmobile, Dodge, and Pontiac 2 wins. Hudson, AMC, and Toyota 1 win. Of course, Toyota's win being from Denny Hamlin last year in the makeup race.
Yep.
So now we're going to go back into 2021. We know where everybody's at the standings here. Who's going to win the spring race at Darlington?
Okay, I got my pick. This driver, he has in 26 races at Darlington total. He has 0 wins, 4 top 5s, 11 top 10s, 18 top 20s, 365 laps led, 2 poles, and he might have been in a close finish. Might have. My pick. This driver has not won yet this season. His last win was last year at his home track. Driver of the number 1, Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch is going to win at Darlington and finally win at this track.
Okay, I've got my pick. This driver has won here twice at Darlington. He drives the number 19. Martin Truex Jr. from Joe Gibbs Racing.
Okay.
All right. So you got Martin Truex Jr., Joe Gibbs Racing. All right. Who's going to win this time around? Well, I think we've seen a trend here with different winners. Kevin Harvick is going to take the win.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think it's only fitting that we see another different winner, and Kevin Harvick's time will shine. This is it for him. Kevin Harvick will be the winner. It might be wrong. I probably will be wrong, but I think Kevin Harvick is going to win this race. Let's talk about Saturday's events. The NASCAR Xfinity Series at Darlington for 200 miles. Round 9 of 33. So the Xfinity guys are back. They have a little stretch from here to a few weeks later. Last year's winners, we had Chase Briscoe and Brandon Jones go to victory lane. Brandon Jones will come back and defend his win from last year in the fall. First race was won by Jeffrey Bodine back in 1982, the first established series of the second highest level of NASCAR racing was 1982. And Jeffrey Bodine was the man who took the win. Mark Martin has the most wins with 8 at this track. Denny Hamlin has won here 5 times. Jeff Burton, Harry Gant share 4 wins apiece. Jeffrey Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Matt Kenseth 3 wins at this track, while Ron Bouchard, Kyle Busch, Dale Jarrett, Robert Presley, and Darrell Waltrip share 2 wins. Now, in terms of team wins from the spring race at Darlington, Roush Fenway Racing 8 times they've gone to victory lane, while Whittaker Racing it 3 times, and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated twice. And in terms of the spring race at Darlington for manufacturers, 9 wins. Ford has the upper end once again. Chevrolet 5 wins. Pontiac 5 wins. So if you do the math, General Motors plus 3, that would be 13 wins total. But Buick, of course, the other 3 wins from them, and Dodge 1 win. So that said, let's get into our predictions for Saturday's Xfinity race. What do you guys have for Saturday?
Okay, I got my pick. This driver, he's only ran 4 races in total here. He's not run. He's been in the series for a while, but not run. He only has 4 starts at Darlington. This driver, he has 0 wins, 0 top 5s, but 2 top 10s and 3 top 20s. But this driver, his average start here is 8.5. He's driving a Gatorade throwback. Driver of the number 1, Michael Annett, is going to go to victory lane at Darlington.
You know what? I'm gonna have to pick his teammate, driver of the number 7, Justin Allgaier, to go to victory lane.
Okay.
Since he's been so close before, but he hasn't got the job done.
Yeah.
You know who has got the job done? Brandon Jones will go back-to-back. I feel like we're going to see one of those Brandon Jones races, and it's going to be all Brandon Jones. You laugh all you want. He was there at the end. That wasn't just a lucky one. Well, actually, it was because the time was bad.
Yeah, his teammate Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain, but yeah, now we got the truck race.
Oh, that's hard. Okay, one more series to cover in NASCAR before we talk some F1, and that, of course, is the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Darlington for 200 miles, just like the Xfinity race, but these guys will be racing on a Friday night.
Yep.
Of round 8 of 22. Last year, Ben Rhodes took the win, and Ben Rhodes will be back to defend that win. In 2001, Bobby Hamilton took the first checkered flag at Darlington. And by the way, there are only 2 drivers that have more than 1 win. Bobby Hamilton and Casey Kane share 2 wins. Bobby Hamilton Racing won twice, as did Ultra Motorsports. What does that make in common for manufacturers? Most wins, Dodge, 4 times, because 2 from Hamilton and BHR, and 2 wins from Casey Kane and Ultra Motorsports equal 4. And by the way, Casey Kane won that truck race at Darlington in his first ever start in the series. That's impressive. 2 wins from Toyota, and of course, last year Ben Rhodes put Ford on the win board for the first time at this track. Of course, he's going to be driving for Toyota this time around as the team switch brands in the offseason. But we still don't have much to go off of from the trucks at Darlington. What could you make out of this, Justin?
Well, I don't know, but there's only, I'm counting here, 1. I'm counting. I counted about 12, 13 are in this race that ran last year. Yeah. But my pick for this race has no starts here. But he does have Cup and Xfinity experience at this track. He's entered in his own truck. Driver of the number 17, David Gilliland, is going to win at Darlington.
David Gilliland will score his first Truck Series win. Yeah, you're a little bit crazy. I don't think that's going to, I mean...
He has experience. That's
you know what?
He does have experience, and maybe that will be the key to victory lane.
Maybe, but I'm gonna go and throw my hat in the middle, and just go ahead and say Stuart Friesen is gonna get his first win at. No, not his first win at Darlington. Yeah, his first win at Darlington.
There's only been 1 truck race he's ran at Darlington. That was last year. All right.
Yeah.
Who's your pick?
Well, my pick is I'm at a crossroads because I really don't know who I would make of this, but I'm going to be bold and say that Chandler Smith will score his first Truck Series win at last, and will be here at Darlington on Friday night.
I thought you were going to say Eric Darnell because he's in the race.
Well, Eric Darnell is making his first Truck Series debut. His first start, 2008, when he was a Roush development driver. So, boy, if times have changed. That's been 13 years since.
Yeah.
Crazily enough, he still decided not to quit and came back for Nice Motorsports, and we've seen a trend with that. Nice Motorsports brought back multiple drivers that have left the sport and taken a pause out of the game for many years. Drivers including Trevor Bayne, James Buescher. Am I missing anybody else?
It's basically them too.
I mean, Bill Lesser returned to the trucks with
you also had Travis Pastrana
Travis Pastrana,
those people, and
Connor Daly takes a dip or 2 in a NASCAR. It's interesting to see how the dynamics work for Nice Motorsports, but I see Eric Darnell back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing Eric Darnell driving the 45 and Lassard not running because of sponsors, which has Ryan Reed in the 24 truck.
There's another driver, Ryan Reed, will be making his debut with GMS Racing this weekend.
Yeah, he ran the last 2 races for Ray Cicerelli, which that truck is not competitive, but he's in a competitive truck this time. So he'll probably do better. Hopefully he does better than what he did at CMI Motorsports.
Absolutely. And this is a big opportunity for Ryan Reed to see whether or not he can still stay in the hunt in NASCAR's highest levels. We'll have to see because remember, Rafael Sard got released, so there's an open slot. So it will be an interesting race, I'd say, 200 miles, but there's a lot of competition in such a short race for both of the lower series.
Yeah, which I miss all 3 races because work. So at least I could DVR the races. That's nice about technology. You could DVR races.
Yeah, I don't love technology.
But sometimes technology doesn't work. Sometimes, like
Yeah.
sometimes StreamYard sometimes just doesn't work like that one time.
Yeah, always that one time.
But
Okay,
you know what? It is what it is.
Yep.
exactly. Let's go ahead and move on to talk some Formula One, shall we?
Yep.
Let's do it.
This weekend at the beautiful, and I say beautiful because the scenery is nice, except for the type of racing that the track produces. The beautiful Barcelona, Catalunya is the site of the Spanish Gran Premio de España. The Spanish Grand Prix is this weekend for round 4 of the 23 race tour in Barcelona in the beautiful Catalunya region of Spain. And so the Gran Premio de España. I love saying it like that because I take Spanish in college for 2 semesters, and I love taking advantage of my knowledge of Spanish.
Right.
But let's take a look at the history of this race. Last year it was Lewis Hamilton that took the win, and the Spanish Grand Prix, of course, was relocated to August because of the pandemic. But nonetheless, the race happened. And it's nice to see the race back on its usual scheduled distance.
Yeah.
I guess we lost Danny there. First race, we go all the way back to 1951. That, of course, being held at the old Pedrables circuit. And it was an Alfa Romeo driven by none other than Juan Manuel Fangio from Argentina taking the win. And who has the most wins? Well, Michael Schumacher has the most wins here with 6 victories. Lewis Hamilton can tie that with this weekend, where he has 5 wins going into this. From Sir Lewis Hamilton to Sir Jackie Stewart, who had 3 wins in the Spanish Grand Prix. Nigel Mansell, 3 wins. Alain Prost and Mika Hakkinen, 3 wins as well. These drivers with 2 wins include Emerson Fittipaldi, Mario Andretti, Ayrton Senna, Kimi Räikkönen, and Fernando Alonso. Yes, the hometown boy. Fernando Alonso will be back.
Yep.
That's going to be exciting for sure. As for constructor wins, and including only the World Championship events that have been held, Ferrari leads that with 12 wins. McLaren second with 8 wins. Williams third with 7 wins. Fourth with 6 wins. Lotus fifth with 6 wins. Mercedes and 6th with 3 wins. Red Bull. So, who will be the main components? I know I'm asking a question with an obvious answer. Who are the main components in this Grand Prix? And will we see a bit of a change in the podium positions here?
I don't think so. I think the podium will still be Hamilton, Verstappen, and Bottas.
Yeah.
Because, 1, Hamilton is just good at this track. 2, the Mercedes is just still good. 3, Red Bull's decent, and Bottas is decent too. So, you got... I feel like it's going to be the same because, Mercedes, they have a good car, and they are also good at they're good at Spain. They're good at this track, which really helps them. I feel like the only way we have a different podium is if something happens to one of the top 3. If something happens to Max or Lewis or Valtteri, that's the only way we're going to have because I don't think we're going to see one thing, I feel like we're not going to see Monza where we had a Gasly, Sainz, and Stroll podium. That was just we're not going to see AlphaTauri, a McLaren, and a Racing Point. That would be basically if
that'd be horrid.
Yeah, that would be if something happens, but I feel like it's going to be just recently this track's been like a snooze fest, kind of. Just the track, it just gets boring after a while.
I think we're going to see something very bizarre. So let's go ahead and make our predictions for the upcoming Spanish Grand Prix, shall we?
Hey, Joseph, I saw your laughing emoji that I said, I'm out of Facebook jail in 11 days.
Congratulations. I think we should give you a cake and everything for a pizza party. We'll throw a pizza party for the day you get out of Facebook jail.
Yeah, it's my 5th time in the real Facebook jail. I don't know how I've been in there 5 times already.
Okay.
But But my pick for the Grand Prix is Lewis Hamilton, getting win number 98 of his career, getting near 100 wins this season that I predicted.
We'll get 100 this year.
Yeah, I feel like he'll get the win over Max and Valtteri. It's going to be a normal race.
Yeah, I know, but I said something bizarre is going to happen in this race, so get ready to call me crazy.
Oh, jeez.
Winning this race, this driver, he has not won a race since 2019, but you know what? I think it's this time again. The car's much better. Charles Leclerc will win the Spanish Grand Prix, and I have failed to hold my laugh in.
So you think that Ferrari's going to be better than Red Bull and Mercedes?
Listen. Wow. You gotta understand about the Toronto Maple Leafs of F1 here. They can compete sometimes.
Yeah,
but it has to be given to them. I feel like we're going to see a lot of safety cars, a lot of cars going off track, a lot of roly-poly-oly going on behind the safety car, and then all of a sudden Ferrari's going to be 1 and 2, and we're going to hear the powerful Italian national anthem on the podium.
But the thing about this track, it's like,
my pick is going to fail. It's not going to. It's not going to happen.
Monaco would be more legit because Monaco is a tight circuit here. I almost said Spa, but no, that's not yet. But
no Spa yet, no.
Barcelona is just like a normal race, and it's a tough track to pass at. So people in the back will be trying to get up front. Will have a hard time to pass. The only area you could pass is the DRS zones because trying to pass in the corners, it's not going to go well.
No, it won't.
This track is just the design. It's like some parts, like before in F1, that final corner was a flat corner. Now they have that chicane before the final corner. Yeah, like the old last corner made more speeds higher, but with the chicane, it doesn't help.
Just slow things down.
Yeah, and then it's just hard with this. Like, you get in the DRS, and then you get in the dirty air, and then you can't make a move. And trying to make a move in some of the corners are just dangerous. It's going to be interesting. Not in the front. It's probably just going to be top 3 pulling away from the rest of the field. Nikita Mazepin finishing last, the last running car, or out of the race. You never know. And
you never know.
And Haas will be not getting points again. Haas with the worst team on the grid.
God. All right. Let's go ahead and move along and discuss some Formula E. All right, so this weekend we have the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship returning in, yes, the Monaco Street Circuit, the Circuit de Monaco, Monte Carlo, Monaco. I love that track. I love everything about it. I don't care if people hate driving it. I love driving it. I love the Monaco E-Prix. It's a beautiful – the Circuit de Monaco is just a beautiful track all around. I love Monaco, and I'm so glad it's back in 2021. It feels a lot more normal to live in this time of the year. So in the beautiful Circuit de Monaco, we do have the Monaco E-Prix coming back. Let's talk about some of the history of the race. Last time they raced, it was 2019. Jean-Eric Vergne took the win. And, of course, the most wins. The first race was back in 2015. Sebastian Buemi won that. He won twice more wins than anybody else. Jean-Eric Vergne won win. With Sebastian Buemi, it was Renault E-Dams with him. And Diaz Techeetah with the other win from Jean-Eric Vergne. One win from Vergne, but one race this time around this weekend. So what are the expectations? Now these guys come in with just one race.
I feel like it's going to be interesting with only one race. It's going to be an interesting race. Might have interesting moments throughout the race. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least, for the 1,000th time. Who's going to win this Monaco E-Prix?
Okay, my pick. This driver, he drives for Mercedes. He has experience at this track, but not in a Formula E car. His only experience comes in an F1 car. My pick is driving the number 5. Stoffel Van Dorn will win at Monaco.
I have the other Mercedes. That's Nick DeVries. Nick DeVries is going to win in Monaco. I think it's going to come down to these two. They'll be on the podium together. Just watch and see. It's going to be
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, we have one more race to cover, and it's for the Supercars Championship. The Repco Supercars Championship is back for week 4 of 12. The Bend Super Sprint will be rounds 9, 10, 11 of 31. Last year, we had 2 weekends. Remember, Scott Mclaughlin, Fabian Coulthard won those events back when they drove for DJR Team Penske, now known as Dick Johnson Racing once again. Both drivers are no longer in the team.
Yeah.
One out of the sport. 2018, the first race was held. It's a fairly new circuit in Thailand, Bend. The Bend Super Sprint is an interesting track, to say the least. But I mean, it's a nice track in South Australia. It looks very Tilkish, but it is what it is. I mean, we're going to have some good racing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the first race was won by Shane Van Gisbergen in 2018. Most wins, Scott McLaughlin won twice, Fabian Coulthard once, and Shane Van Gisbergen once. As for team wins, Dick Johnson Racing picked up 3 wins, AAA Race Engineering 1, and, of course, the manufacturers Ford with 3 and Holden with 1. But I think we're going to see something out of these 3 races. What do you expect from these 3 races, Justin?
I think it's going to be interesting races. I feel like it's going to be interesting all weekend. But
yeah.
But the races, I feel like the winner for the races, race 1 will go to Van Gisbergen, race 2 will go to Chaz Mostert, and race 3 goes to Van Gisbergen again.
Oof. Race 1 at Jamie Whincup, race 2 Shane Van Gisbergen, and race 3 Shane Van Gisbergen. It's going to be all AAA. Holden's going to stay undefeated after this weekend. They'll go 4 weekends undefeated this year.
Yeah, I feel like
it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Wait, why did you have Tasmania? Wait, Joseph, did you notice you put Tasmania Super Sprint?
Let's go ahead and change that up, shall we?
I was about to say Tasmania. I'm like, I thought we were not.
Tasmania was last time around.
Yeah, I guess.
Here we go.
Yeah, there. Yeah. So I have Van Gisbergen, Mostert, and then Van Gisbergen again. So Holden's
going to stay undefeated. I think the Fords are going to really have to step up their game this time around. But we got a good plate that's about to be delivered here. So it's going to be good. So I think this is a good ending point of the podcast. We've definitely been live for quite some time. But before we go, I just want to send out my condolences to the famous Unser family, of course, the family of Bobby Unser, who passed away last night from natural causes. It's just a very sad moment. You know, the Unser family is a beautiful family of motorsport competitors because if you look at their stats, it's amazing. Remember Louis Unser won the Pikes Peak Hill Climb 9 times, the patriarch of the family. And then we had, of course, Jerry Unser, who was tragically killed in 1959 behind the wheel of an IndyCar. And, of course, Bobby Unser, who had a celebrated career, and Al Unser. Remember, Al Unser picked up 4 Indy 500 wins, one of 3 drivers to do that. And, of course, we had in the 3rd generation Johnny Unser, Robbie Unser, and Al Unser Jr., Little Al, who ended up winning the Indy 500 twice.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just very sad because Bobby Unser was a very outspoken and just a popular figure in the IndyCar garage for many years. his career was a long one. It went from 1959 to 1982, and within those 258 starts, he picked up 35 wins, 52 poles, and 2 championships one in 1968 when he won his first Indy 500, and then in 1974 when he picked up his second and final championship. A year later, he picked up his second Indy 500 win, as did he win the IROC championship, and then in 1981, he won that third and oh-so-controversial Indianapolis 500 win, where people to this day still think that it should have went to Mario Andretti. But Bobby Unser had a very achieving career. If you really think about it, he won the Fast Masters Championship in 1993 in that one-make series with the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Tom Walkinshaw XJ220s held at the Indy Raceway Park. Bobby Unser picked up those 2 championships, of course, the Indy 500 wins and all that stuff from Albuquerque, New Mexico. His family all grew up in that region, and it's just a very sad deal. And also, I want to send out my condolences to the family of Eric McClure, who passed away. Former NASCAR driver Eric McClure from the famous Morgan McClure Motorsports family. Passed away from a rare condition on Sunday, and he was just 42 years old, had 7 children, and was engaged. It's very, very sad. Eric McClure picked up 1 top 10 in his lengthy NASCAR Xfinity Series career. Though troubling off-track life, he always showed up for most of the races and qualified more than he wasn't able to. So, he did drive somewhat of a fulfilling career, but Eric McClure will be missed. He was 42 years old, and I think this is a good end of the podcast. We will be back next week for episode 110. I can't believe it's been 10 episodes since our 100th already, but boy, does time fly, Justin. Danny and I, of course, we always appreciate bringing you, the viewer, in-depth, detailed motorsports content on and off Twitter, on and off YouTube, wherever it may be. We are happy to deliver you the input that you, the fans, love and want to hear every single race, week in and week out. So we'll see you guys next week for episode 110. For my partners, Daniel Fort and Justin Hebert, I'm Joseph Landy Pavlon signing off tonight. See you next week.